Virginia begins the 2021 portion of the home ACC schedule tonight as they welcome in the Clemson Tigers, just the second road trip all time in the young history of this Clemson program. What a pleasure to have you on grounds, Palmer Park, fairly newly minted still, as we welcome you alongside. Casey Steffen is here. I'm Jason Patterson alongside the former UVA captain. And Casey, tonight, when you look at the battle in the circle, we have a couple of pitchers, very young, very solid, who can both swing it.
Yeah, Jason, we'll get to Cagle in a minute, but let's talk a bit about Morgan Murphy. Also out of Chesapeake, Virginia, not too far from Yorktown, where Cagle's from. Redshirted her 2020 season, did not see any playing time in 2020, but started the series against George Washington last weekend and did quite well, so Joe must have liked what she saw because Murphy gets the nod tonight in this opener against Clemson.
Well, that Commonwealth native on Clemson's roster already having introduced herself to the nation with her impact both in the circle and at the plate a year ago.
Yeah, just an unbelievable athlete. Like you said, at the plate, in the circle. Looking forward to seeing her throw tonight and see what she can do for a career here at Clemson.
She was the only freshman in the country to reach a double-digit home run total a season ago, and they expect her to continue that trend here in year two for the Tigers. The Clemson lineup with some noticeable differences already, Casey.
Yeah, definitely. So a little bit of a change-up on defense today. You got Bingham playing second base. Usually she's at third. Otis stepping in her spot in third base. We'll see what this defense can do with Virginia offense.
Well, and we'll see what they can do with Morgan Murphy, who is coming off a tremendous start in the Cavaliers Classic against George Washington a weekend ago.
Yeah, definitely. Going to be important for her to keep the ball down in the zone against this powerful Clemson offense. As we noted earlier, wind is blowing out. So again, secret to success, keep the ball low, throw strikes early, get on top of the count.
Well, it's just about that time. Morgan Murphy working her way out to the circle. ACC softball here in Central Virginia as the right-hander gets set to deliver the first pitch of the ball game to the dynamic Mackenzie Clark. And there it is at 2 minutes after 5 in the Eastern time zone. We've got ACC softball back here at the fairly new home of the Virginia Cavaliers. And Casey, that still ends up being one of the major storylines as Murphy begins her work here tonight. This place, everybody just getting used to it, but boy, every time you settle in for a game at Palmer Park, you're reminded just what a pleasure it is to play softball in this new facility.
Yeah, definitely. It is a gorgeous ballpark. Very lucky to have these Cavaliers playing in this location.
Clark's numbers already grabbing your attention as she fouls this straight back. A battery mate of note for Morgan Murphy as well, as she has the freshman behind the dish, Boggs, getting the start once again. And things have gone well for Virginia when Boggs has been back there in the catching position.
Yeah, we were laughing earlier. Softball players are nothing if they're not superstitious. And Leah Boggs, Coach Hard let me know that the Cavaliers are 6-0 with Leah Boggs behind the plate. So not surprised to see her get the nod today.
This catch is just a piece of Mackenzie Clark. So she will reach first, the initial base runner there for the Clemson Tigers as the lineup moves over to Ainsley Gilstrap.
Yeah, great story out of Ainsley Gilstrap. A transfer from UC Upstate, did not play last year. When she got into the plate today in 2021, it was the first time she had played softball in over 1,000 days.
Unbelievable to be separated for that long from the game you love. And when you think about all the adversity that Gilstrap overcame just to step into the batter's box. There's a player who knew she was going to have to sit out a season, the way credit transfers and transfer rules affected her. But beyond that, ended up with some major health issues that required a surgery in December of 2019.
Yeah, talking to Coach Rittman earlier this week, we asked, who are the leaders on your team? And he mentioned her name immediately. A great lead by example, obviously overcoming adversity, no excuses. Definitely a valuable asset to this Clemson team.
That surgery in December 19 leading her out for all of last year. She ended up with what she called a rare brain issue in which a portion of her brain extended beyond her skull. Here's the runner moving down to second, and the Tigers will pretty quickly have one in scoring position. But she's always joked, said, well, I knew I was smart. Now I know why I was so smart with the little bit of extra going on there. But after serious migraine headaches and all the issues she was battling through, the surgery was required. Didn't go according to plan. Some complications following the surgery that left her without a 2020 season. But her inspirational leadership, both on and off the diamond, one of the things this Clemson team points to as to why they've had such early success, Casey.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Murphy trying to settle in here as she makes contact with the first batter, Clark, but finds herself out front with a 1-2, or excuse me, even with a 2-2 count on Gilstrap, who battles there at the plate. What do you want to see from Morgan Murphy here in the early stages of this game?
Yeah, getting ahead in counts is going to be important here so that she can work off the plate later in the counts. Keeping it down, like we talked about, wind is blowing out, want to make sure that Clemson can't get a hold of something.
Murphy's 2-2. Gilstrap grounds it foul. We talk about pitchers that can hit. Murphy drove in the game winner in the bottom of the ninth inning of the middle game against GW. She drove Donna Friedman all the way around from first base to touch home plate and seal the victory. After hitting the bottom of the left center field wall, I should say, finding the gap from the plate. Right now, her work being done in the circle. And her 2-2, what, just a floater in there for strike 3.
Yeah, great pitch out of Morgan Murphy. Great pitch out of Morgan Murphy. Shows a lot of confidence throwing that ball. I'd like to see that in a young pitcher.
Watch the delivery from Murphy as she eludes the bat of the dangerous Gilstrap. And here is the first battle between these two. Not only are they going to be opposite one another in the circle, but the way they approach one another will be perhaps one of the biggest keys to this softball game as Cagle steps in for the first time. Gave you her outstanding visuals in the open of just how much power there is in that bat. And here she is with a chance to make a contribution for Clemson right away. Yeah. Outside corner. That's a pretty good pitch there, Casey.
Yeah, Morgan Murphy going right at her. You love to see that.
Well, Murphy, as you look back over what she was able to accomplish a week ago, successful with that rise ball. Look for it in key moments, and there are the vitals on Cagle. You know, it always catches the attention of fans watching a game like this that she's from not far away there in Yorktown, Virginia.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of representation on both rosters for the Southeast and the Mid-Atlantic, which is exciting to see for the sport of softball. In fact, Morgan Murphy and Cagle from not too far away from each other.
Yeah, just down the road, and they have so much of what happens in this softball game resting at their shoulders. You talked about it. The fact that these softball players are being gathered up to these premier programs from everywhere is one of the great evidences of just how fast this sport is growing.
Yeah, definitely. When I played, there were a lot of kids on the rosters from Arizona, California, Florida. It's fun to see Virginia represented on Virginia's roster. Certainly love to protect the home state and also in the ACC.
Of course, you're hearing a broadcast partner tonight, the captain for Virginia in 2009 as a part of those Wahoo squads back in the day on the North Grounds over at the park, and now looking on and enjoying this new home for Virginia softball. And look at Murphy. She comes back with back-to-back strikeouts after allowing the base runner. What a way to buckle down for Murphy.
Yeah, definitely. Again, really great to see a young pitcher going right at her. Keeping it just off the plate.
A big out anytime you can get Cagle in this softball game, and there are 2 Clemson Tigers gone now as the inning is left up to Logaleo, who stands into that right side batter's box, takes a strike. Here's the line from that George Washington game, Casey. 6 2/3 innings, 4 strikeouts, 5 hits allowed, just a couple of runs. That was in the 3-2 victory, and you see the overall line from that George Washington contest as Murphy seeks the final out of this first inning. And this is fouled off, so she's way ahead, no balls and 2 strikes. This is certainly more of what Coach Harden and her staff want to see, the way she's attacked this at bat.
Yeah, when I talked to Coach Harden this week and said, what are you looking for out of your team as you face Clemson? She said aggressive. Aggressive at the plate, aggressive in the circle, aggressive on the base pass, and Morgan Murphy's certainly taking care of that right now.
Trying to work around a leadoff hit batsman. They're going to be tough to do after a single here. Rounding third, coming home with the initial Clemson run is Clark, and the Tigers need just one AB to claim the first lead of the game. But how about this swing from Logaleo, Casey?
Yeah, she really got a hold of that ball right up the middle. Nothing you can do about that in the field.
Ends up putting the Tigers out front. So just when it looked as if Murphy was going to battle back after getting a couple of strikeouts following the hit batsman, Tigers end up cashing in and saving an at-bat for Matamore, the DP. A little bit of extra velocity on that pitch as Murphy comes right back at the Clemson hitter.
Yeah, she came right back at her.
Another, as you can see, of the Commonwealth products in this Clemson lineup. Dotted with Commonwealth natives, the Tigers roster, as well as you would expect this Virginia crew. That fouled off the front of the Virginia dugout. What catches your attention first about Palmer Park when you sit down at your perch high atop the place tonight, Casey?
I mean, it is beautiful. You can see the rotunda from where I'm sitting right here, a view of some of the other athletics facilities, which is a wonderful location for this park.
Everything all in one place, something that not necessarily the experience for student athletes when you were out there on the diamond.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful that these student athletes can study here, they can eat here, they can watch video here, not too far away from the weight room. It's wonderful that they're located so centrally to all the things they need to access.
Murphy way ahead, 0-2. Offed it out to right, backing up and just out of the reach of Avila. It's down on the track, and Clemson is going to play the second run. Is coming all the way around is Logaleo, and standing up at second base, having made it a 2-0 game, is Matamore, the DP. Well, Clemson with some two-out noise, Casey.
Yeah, Virginia circling up there, settling down. Let's get this last out.
Yeah, you saw going into the shadows there, Avila. This is right about the time the sun is going down in Central Virginia. Makes it difficult on those outfielders and for the hitters as well. Take a look at how the hitter is in the shadows getting ready to receive the delivery from Morgan Murphy right now. Down to third, and Fox across, able to get the runner by a step, and that's the inning. Not before Clemson plates a couple. Good start for the Tigers on the rare road trip for the Clemson folks. The Virginia Cavaliers ended up with a winning record after taking 3 out of 4 as part of the Cavalier Classic last week. This offense came to life as we take a look at the Virginia lineup. The Cavaliers coming to hit for the first time. Casey, who do you highlight here beside Murphy, who we've talked a great deal about already?
Yeah, Katie Goldberg's going to have to step into the plate here and get something in play. Again, talking to Coach Joe earlier this week, aggressive at the plate. Cagle throws a lot of strikes, so jumping on her early. Don't give her any opportunity to come offside the plate. Put the ball in play.
You like the pop in the bat of Donna Friedman as well in that 3-hole in the lineup for UVA. Here is Cagle now getting set to toe the rubber in that circle for the first time. And Clemson with a 2-0 lead to which she is already staked. Goes to work on the defensive side. Oda over at third, Bigham at second base. You mentioned some of the adjustments with Gilstrap at short and Keller over at first base. That's the Clemson infield behind the outstanding right-hander out of Yorktown, Virginia. Goldberg trying to be the fire starter. At .359 average, she's been good at the top for UVA, but bounces this right to Gilstrap. And just a couple of pitches required for the first out of the defensive portion of the game for the Tigers.
Yeah, but if the plan is to swing early and swing at strikes early, she certainly executed on that.
The nature, the style to be aggressive, and you're going to have to. When you take a look at the kind of numbers that Cagle has put together, you better be aggressive. 6 wins already secured, and it's a small sample size, but the numbers speak for themselves. A player that, what was it we were told by the Clemson coaching staff, Casey? She's a 5-tool player even when she's not out in the circle.
Yeah, exactly. Really unbelievable athlete.
Here's Gilbert inside the Commonwealth product for Virginia, hitting up over 300 on the year. Virginia with each of the first 4 spots in the lineup. Now really, you're going down with the way the lineup is structured today. A few changes in it. Avila there in that 5-hole. Everybody up over 300 on the year in the starting lineup offensively for Virginia.
Yeah, it's nice to see.
Out off the end of the bat. Well, fans around the country getting used to the second-team All-American inside the circle for Clemson in just her freshman season. Walk us through to some degree, Casey, what makes her so difficult to pick up.
You know, again, she throws lots of strikes. She comes right at you. You see a screwball in there, moving just off the plate. She throws hard, and she's a really fast tempo pitcher. So pitches are coming in one right after the other.
Count even at 2-2. And the 7th pitch delivered from Cagle. That's going to be slapped out of play. But the bat extended here. Continuing to battle is Gilbert. We talked a little bit in that top half of the inning toward the end of it about the shadows. Makes it even tougher to pick up a pitcher as it goes to 3-2 now when you're standing in the shadows, Casey, and she's in the bright sunshine.
Yeah, definitely. Something to contend with here, something to get used to in this park. The sun will be setting here in another, 40 minutes or so, but until then, it's a battle.
Here's the payoff pitch. That's hit out to second. Down to the knees and back up with a solid defensive play is Bigham. She embraces that opportunity at second base very nicely here as the second out of the bottom half of the first inning is recorded. Well, we remind you as we end up with another look at this play at second base.
Great play.
Boy, just perfect work on the right side of the infield by Bigham. The defense for Clemson, the one area that the coaching staff wanted to focus on as Friedman slaps at the initial pitch. They said, we feel like we hit the ball well in our inaugural season. We feel like we also pitched pretty well in our inaugural season. The defense was the one area that let them down. It seems it has been a major point of emphasis, and it's paid off thus far, as you see the vitals on Friedman. Friedman had the late offense for Virginia in the overall home opener this season. She had a home run in the final AB for the Cavaliers in the game against JMU. It was of little consequence in a 5-1 loss, but she did end up scoring the winning run a little later in the weekend in the GW affair. Had the hit that started the rally and came around on tonight's pitcher, Morgan Murphy's RBI knock in the bottom of the 9th inning. So Friedman has been right in the heart of everything Virginia has done offensively this season. Behind Cagle, 1-2 here. Just off the plate, 2-2. Boy, that's tough to lay off of, Casey.
Yeah, definitely. She's being selective with the pitches she's swinging at, and that's good to see.
Friedman, who put up monster numbers through the first 7 games on the road, has picked up right where she left off here at Palmer Park. But this is going to be a little shallow pop on the infield. Shortstop, Gilstrap there. She was busy in the first. 2-0 Clemson after 1. Clemson head coach John Rittman said many around the program called this year 1.5 after the inaugural season was shut down in unusual fashion. With March having returned here, Casey, it's a reminder of what happened in the middle of March a season ago.
Yeah, exactly. We're about a week away from when things got shut down last year this time. Grateful to be back on the field and excited to see this ACC team take off.
About half the season for some teams had passed them by. And you think about well over 300 days between softball games that go in the scorebook counting. Now, there have been a lot of workouts and a lot of preparation, but I think the uncertainty perhaps made it the most difficult.
Yeah, definitely. Hard to prepare for a season you're not sure is going to happen. Coach Joe touched on this a little bit this week when we were talking about it. She said, we just had our players prepared to play any position at any time because we didn't know what this was going to look like going into 2021.
Virginia was fresh off a walk-off win over Bucknell right here in this ballpark. They will have, by the time this weekend is over, played more games in this ballpark this year than they were able to complete last year. That's how short the season was here in Central Virginia for the Hoos. But we're really beginning to build some momentum and get familiar with this place when everything came to a screeching halt. Morgan Murphy off to a good start in the second inning, has a 1-2 pitch coming on Keller that is fouled off, and that's going to be out of place, so she'll stay well ahead 1-2. What did you see from Morgan Murphy in that first inning as she tried to settle in with a couple of Clemson runs coming in 2-out offense fashion?
Yeah, being really consistent, coming right at the hitters. Coach Joe said, one of the things that I'm pushing for this team is not only aggressive but consistent, and Morgan Murphy proving that, coming out in the second inning, throwing strikes, coming right back at Keller.
Close to 2-2 here. When you talk about the changes that have come as a result of the pandemic and the shutdowns, this by no means over, Casey. We know, you just look ahead, the next opponent for Virginia Tech, a place you're very familiar with also, having some issues with terms of protocols and COVID, as this has popped up, going to be handled by the shortstop Goldberg. But you get the sense that the schedule is going to remain fluid for a while to come. One thing that you notice about the schedule right away, though, is because of some of the changes made to see to it that travel is limited, you're going to play everybody 4 times when you stop in their locale. A 4-game series is going to make it a lot different across conference action.
Yeah, that's one of the ways in which Virginia has an advantage here. They have a young bullpen, but they have a deep bullpen, which will help them as they play 4 games in a weekend.
We've seen it over the years in this sport where you can really take one pitcher, especially if you have somebody like a Cagle, who we see for Clemson here tonight, and ride them throughout the entirety of the 3-game series. Going to be very difficult to do that across a 4-game slate.
Yeah, not going to be an option as we get into these ACC series.
This is the right side, and there is Arizona Ritchie. She loves playing in this ballpark. Ritchie, who had the first hit, the first run scored in the history of Palmer Park in that 2020 March campaign. She's responsible for securing her first defensive out here, 2 down. Also a hero against GW, as she was right in the thick of Virginia's positive performance in the Cavalier Classic. How much do you think the way they were able to play last week, coming home after all the disruptions to the schedule on the road, will factor into their ability to settle in this weekend?
Yeah, I think it's great to get some practice playing in this field. Also, anytime you have a young team, getting some wins under your belt, getting comfortable, that'll be really valuable as they face this Clemson defense.
Virginia able to improve the record, a winning record now on the board for UVA. Here comes the 0-1 to JoJo Hyatt. You're going to see freshmen a lot in this Clemson lineup. They had a ton of them anyway, putting a program together where you're looking for pioneer-type players, but everybody given that extra year of eligibility back, Casey. So you got freshmen, and then you've got super freshmen, as these coaches' staffs have talked about.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got 12 redshirt or double redshirt freshmen on a squad of 25. That's a pretty unbelievable statistic.
That is something else. And then you think about those that were of that pioneer mindset for the Clemson program, who transferred in and have helped build the system that Clemson has put in place. A lot of new faces, to say the least. You're going to have that, but a lot of young players. And there's the riser, and it will work Morgan Murphy out of the inning. She holds Clemson scoreless in the second. Tomorrow we'll have the ACC Women's Basketball Tournament semifinals on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. The first game starting at noon Eastern, with a championship game Sunday on ESPN2. March Madness portion of the spring, a busy spring athletic calendar having arrived, and things rolling right along at the ACC tournament. Virginia set to send Murphy, Avila Ritchie to the plate. Here's Murphy's first time battling it out with Cagle, who was economical to say the least in that first, and she only needs 1 pitch to get the initial out of the second inning, as it is flown right into the grasp of Johnson, who is in right field for the Tigers. Well, how crisp was that first inning for Cagle?
Yeah, Casey. Through 14 pitches, 9 of them were strikes. Just got out of that with 1 pitch right there. Really efficient, really efficient.
Yeah, if bats like that going to keep the pitch count low. Here comes Avila. Brings her .333 average to the plate. Well, with 7 hits and 21 at-bats on the year, she falls behind 0-1. One of those players from distance. Their way Central Virginia from the state of Arizona. Shows a good eye, looks at a pitch off the plate away. Cagle, you know things are working well as she's right back in the circle. To deliver in rapid fire fashion. That's just a little bit outside to Avila. Avila known for her selectiveness at the plate. To a 1-2 count here, trying to stay alive against Cagle. Flaps this off the end of the bat. Now, your approach as a hitter against a pitcher of this caliber, Casey.
Yeah, aggressive. Jump on it early. You know she throws strikes, which to some extent makes it easier as a hitter.
Reasons opportunities are going to be few and far between, you would think. This skips off, going to run the count even at 2-2 now. Coach Joanna Harden down there at third base. What an eventful offseason for her. A new mom welcomed Finley Faye to the fold, and the latest of the Wahoo fans to be brought onto the planet. Congratulations to she and her husband Travis. This is slapped out into right field, but it was a busy offseason as Avila does work her way aboard here. And what an at-bat as she puts together ability to battle back and become Virginia's first base runner. Talked about the offseason, wearing a lot of different hats, a lot of them very exciting as you get a look at the good-looking kid in the Harden home. How about that?
Yeah, definitely. And Finley spends a lot of time here at the field, which is awesome. As Joe says, she has a lot of aunties and big sisters. Definitely going to grow up a Virginia softball kid.
And Virginia's biggest fan into the summer last year, heading down into the fall, and one of the real bright spots in the midst of what was a difficult year in so many ways. And boy, you think about the challenges every coach had just in terms of keeping the focus where it needs to be for their players. She said she went into labor with complete uncertainty about what the future looked like in terms of workouts, in terms of fall ball. Just had no clue what was going to be ahead, and somehow has been spinning all those plates and has Virginia back in action here in 21.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it helps to put some things in perspective when you're a brand new mom, but definitely added things to her plate in the offseason.
In a very positive way. And now spending some time with one of the clutch players in this Virginia lineup, Arizona Ritchie, young lady who seems to find herself up in spots to make a difference so often for UVA.
Yeah, again, asking the leadership question of Coach Harden this week, Zona's name came up a couple of times. She's a lead by example kid She's a lead by example kid. She's a vocal kid, and she plays well.
Her dad, the head baseball coach at George Washington, a team she had major impact against last weekend with GW in town for the Cavaliers Classic. Then he brought his team just across the way for a scheduled midweek game against UVA up the way at the Dish, and he had some bragging rights on the way she was able to perform against his colors last weekend. You know, we talk about family touch to these sports and all of that with, a new child on the coaching side of things, and what she was able to do, it certainly is a great storyline when you think in terms of her weekend last weekend.
Yeah, definitely.
One of the things that is certainly the mark of the Coach Joanna Harden era is the building of this facility. I know you were there when she met Lisa Palmer in Florida. The vision was born and the next step was taken in creating this kind of facility for Virginia athletics. And you think about the baseball stadium we just referred to, which is just behind us. Between here and there is Klockner. There's strike three for Cagle. She freezes Ritchie. And there is the second out of the inning with Avila still aboard. But you think about baseball there, you look across the street, John Paul Jones Arena, national championships for both of those programs, countless national championships at Klockner right behind us here, where both lacrosse and soccer have had such success. Coach Harden said it this way: the bar is high because we're surrounded by champions every way we look from this new facility.
Yeah, I think her direct quote was, we have national championships coming out of our ears, which is certainly the truth here. And Virginia looking to get a piece of one. She said, I talk to the team all the time, and the sentiment is, why not us? Why not us?
And there is the home of the still reigning basketball champions after the shutdown last year before the tournament can be completed. Tony Bennett and crew still at the top of the college basketball world. And they're playing a team tonight, these Virginia Cavaliers, know a little bit about championships in their own right. In fact, the Clemson softball team was tossing a football around prior to tonight's game.
Yeah, I noticed that coming up here. You know, Clemson has such a reputation as a sports school, and to see the football being thrown, a part of the culture across the entire athletics department, across the entire institution, I'm sure.
All speaks to the impact of the ACC, multiple sports, and of course these two teams, Rocco Mendenhall's squad playing against the Clemson Tigers just a couple of short years ago in the ACC championship in football. So not unusual to see the pigskin out here tonight. There is a called strike, and alertly moving down to second base is Avila. So Virginia, with its potential first run, now in scoring position.
Yeah, see if we can get a ball in play here.
Bride, who scored the game winner on that walk-off against Bucknell a season ago. She's had her moments for Virginia. Won't be here, though. Cagle gets just the nick of the bat and the strikeout to shut down the frame. Morgan Murphy with a solid bounce-back inning in the second.
Yeah, nice easy pop out, ground out, and then a strikeout to close out the inning. Let's see if she can handle the third the same way.
Clemson's two-run first, the difference in the ball game right now, but this is what you want from a young pitcher. And there's that trademark rise ball, which she has used as her out pitch so effectively.
Yeah, she likes to throw that when she's ahead in the count. It's really effective.
And she'll work to the top of the Clemson order. It's Clark, Gilstrap, Cagle once again. Every time you go through this portion of the orders, that pitch just misses, not to the liking of our home plate umpire, Scott Mayer. Haven't talked about our umps yet. Scott Mayer's behind the plate. Dave Mattern at first base. Alex Leet making up the three-person crew for tonight's softball game. But this is the portion of the order you really have to watch, Casey.
Yeah, I like that first pitch out of Morgan Murphy. Again, shows a lot of confidence for a young player to come in, throw something off speed in the first pitch.
Comes back with the heater, and that is in the zone at the knees. So the count evens at 1-1. 38 pitches now for Murphy as she wades into the third frame. Clark with 7 RBIs, 9 runs scored in 34 at-bats this season. Pretty good numbers at the leadoff spot. And as was the case the first go-round, she's got to find a way aboard again here, at least trying to. She was hit by a pitch in that first inning and takes the hardware off, trots down to first this time, but I believe she's going to be recalled here, Casey.
Yeah, they're calling her back.
Clemson head coach Redmond wanting to make sure he's on the same page with the umpiring crew and gives a word of encouragement to his leadoff batter. As the at-bat of Clark will continue instead. So in her mind, twice hit by a pitch. Once she was awarded the base. The second go-round, Morgan Murphy going to have another crack at her. And this is foul.
And again, not hesitating to come back inside on that pitch. I love it. There's a lot of confidence in the circle right now.
Well, and with good reason. She's working ahead of these hitters now through the second and third inning of action. That wide look at Palmer Park, what a beautiful, even if it is still a little bit of the remnants of winter hanging around here in Central Virginia, just a beautiful night.
A little chilly, but the sunshine's nice.
Here's the 2-2. Fouled off. Well, it's all relative, right? And it looks even better than it may be just because this is the first time, and we're all knocking on every piece of wood close to us, but this is the first time this season that there hasn't been either rain or snow in the forecast, and that's true all weekend for this series between Clemson and Virginia. So a very welcome weather report anyway, even if the temperatures are still in the high 40s and going to drop down around 38, 39 before we're done tonight. This is in the air, right field. There's Avila, who worked herself aboard for Virginia a half inning ago. She'll handle the defensive work here. And there's the retirement of Clark. So Clark will not reach, instead becomes the first out of the third inning. Now checking those wristbands to get everybody on the same page. One of the major ways, Casey, that the sport has changed over the last several years, everybody has the critical information right there on the wrist these days.
Yeah, it's something that wasn't around when I played. Really interesting.
And, of course, you know that's necessary for Boggs behind the plate. The battery made a Murphy as she has her first pitch.
Yeah, definitely. A little bit about Boggs. Coach Joe said pitchers really like throwing to her. She's got great energy. She does a good job of communicating with pitchers, and I think that's probably part of Morgan Murphy's success right now is the guidance of Boggs there.
And that's high praise, especially for a young player like Boggs. Now, obviously, it's a young staff. There's a comfort level there. Much of this group coming in together. But still, for them to say, hey, I like throwing to her, make her my backstop, that's quite the request. And the velocity, what it needs to be for Murphy here as she gets way ahead 0-2.
Yeah, and you could see Boggs' reaction to that, too. Super excited about that pitch out of Murphy.
Challenges of growing up this young team and doing it without the traditional softball fall and early spring. Two pretty good pieces for Virginia there. Here's a throw that's going to skip away. Will end up being a base runner for Clemson here in the top of the third.
Yeah,
well, Thursday we'll have two great lacrosse matchups for you on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. The #1 ranked North Carolina women will square off against the 15th ranked Virginia Tech squad. That's at 5 Eastern. And then 2nd ranked North Carolina on the men's side, tackling 9th ranked Virginia right here in Charlottesville. That's ACC Network lacrosse coming up for you on Thursday. There's Cagle again. Sends this down the far side. Cagle was struck out her first time up. That was the 6th time she's been retired via the strikeout this season in 33 at-bats for the Tigers. We referenced it in the open, but 10 home runs last year and the only freshman in the country to reach double digits in that category. And you want to put that in perspective, that was a top 10 total nationally, the home run total she put together. You say, wait a minute, 10 home runs? That's in the top 10 in the country? You have to remember, only about half the games played because of the COVID shutdowns. She put together a tremendous effort in 2020, even in a limited sample size.
Yeah, absolutely. Murphy got her work cut out for her here, trying to stay ahead in this count.
See some of the premier freshmen on the 2020 season on the left side of your screen. And I guess you would call them super freshmen now, to borrow that term that's being thrown around not only softball but college athletics as they receive that year of eligibility back. It's slapped foul. We talked about Gilstrap, who just batted. In her case, you look at it on the bookend on the other side, she's a 6th-year player for the Clemson Tigers after all the transfers and movements and red shirts. So you've got some players that are really working their way as true freshmen onto these campuses and some that have been around 5 and 6. It has to be the widest roster look snapshot that you've ever seen because of the way things have gone down. Cagle hit well, center field and out of here. The Tigers able to double up the advantage on the scoreboard as Cagle has a home run, her 4th of the year, and already nearly halfway to that total she was boasting from the shortened season ago. Well, here's vintage Cagle helping her own cause, Casey.
Yeah, definitely. Pitched a little high in the zone, able to get all of it right to dead center.
You mentioned how the wind was blowing out just a little bit here tonight. That one needed no aid. Hit well by Cagle to straightaway center field. There you see the congratulations. It's Gilstrap, the aforementioned 6th-year player. Worked her way around third base. And here's a called strike as Murphy attempts to battle back. That's just the 2nd home run allowed by Morgan Murphy out of the circle this season. Popped up. And there is room, it appears, on the first base side. The play made. So Murphy able to get a quick out of the cleanup spot in the Clemson order to settle things back down with a 2nd out in the frame.
Aggressive, consistent, and fearless. That's what Joe keeps saying, and that's going to have to be the story for Morgan Murphy here. Keep coming at him.
Well, and you want to certainly be able to shake off what happened in the most recent at-bat against her counterpart, Cagle. And she needs to find a way, try to hold Clemson right where they are. We know the story when the Tigers score 5 runs. In the year-and-a-half history of their program, Clemson undefeated when they score 5 or more. And the Tigers already posting 4 through the first 3 at-bats in the opener against Virginia. This is a high-powered Clemson offense, if you didn't know it already. It's on display through the first 3 frames against Virginia's Friday starter. That foul. A lot of the numbers we're going to give you from the Clemson side of things will obviously come from never having lost this way. You think about it. They swept Georgia Tech on the road in their most recent weekend series. So if they taste defeat here this weekend in Charlottesville, it would be the first time they've ever lost a true road game in the ACC because of the way the schedule was wiped out a year ago. So a lot of first on both the positive and negative side. But when you're up over 20, closing in on 25 wins in which you've scored 5 runs, that's enough of a sample size to tell you how good this Clemson team is when they give their pitching 5 runs of offense.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's hard to come back when you have a pitcher like Cagle.
This is down to third. Should be the inning. A Clemson team that took 3 from Virginia at home a year ago, out front early on the road in Charlottesville. Second team All-American and first team All-ACC member Valerie Cagle doubling Clemson's lead with a shot to straightaway center field in the top half of this 3rd inning. Well, she was so good from the start in the circle and now has her offensive impact on the weekend already, Casey.
Yeah, as you said, Jason, that ball needed no help. Solid shot right out to center field.
ERA just jumps right off the stat sheet at you. And pitching with confidence as well as with a 4-run lead. She works to the 8, 9, and 1 spots in the Virginia order. And a strike taken by Fox. It's almost before you step in the box, you find yourself behind in the count with the way Cagle is pitching thus far in this one.
Yeah, exactly. And again, she's a tempo pitcher, so the ball just keeps coming. There's no time to reset.
Just up over 30 pitches in this bottom of the 3rd inning, and quickly ahead of Fox. No balls and 2 strikes. Fox, a sophomore out of the state of Mississippi, a 2-time USA Elite Select 30 All-American. We're working her way to UVA. Off to a 4 for 22 start this season. Does have a couple of RBIs, couple of runs scored. But has struck out 7 times at the plate thus far this year. Hangs around a little longer as she works the count to 1 and 2. And there's a called strike 3. Just perfect placement. Cagle could not have walked it up there and placed it in the mitt of Hyatt any better.
Yeah, it looked like she took a little bit off of that pitch. Had Michaela Fox back on her heels a bit. Just watched it go by.
So for Cagle, trio of strikeouts as she gets Fox looking. And now Bailey Winscott to bat for Virginia.
Bailey Winscott, another one that Coach Harden references for her leadership on the field and off.
Takes a strike in the start of the at-bat. You know, with a young team, you're always looking for those players that are going to emerge, that are going to provide that vocal leadership, that leadership by example. Certainly falls in that category. To the shortstop, there's Gilstrap again. And a couple of outs quickly recorded. Clemson doubled up Virginia. They ended up scoring 28 runs to Virginia's 14 in last season's 3-game series in Clemson. And as you would expect, Valerie Cagle was right in the middle of it with her performance against Virginia last year. Record 1-0. There was some damage, as you saw, against Cagle, but spread out in such a way that Clemson was still able to sweep the series The Friday night game, both coaches talked about it as being the real tone setter. It was a one-run affair. Virginia right in that down to the end. Coach Harden talking about a substitution in that game as she was on the road for the first time in the ACC last year as a part of that 2020 campaign in that new environment at Clemson. And a very close Friday night game, and then the Tigers pulling away across the course of the weekend for the sweep. One thing that jumped out in our conversation with Coach Harden, Casey, was just how impressed she was with the environment in Tigertown.
Yeah, you said it. So coming back, talking to the team, debriefing about the series of the weekend, and saying the girls talking about the environment. And Coach Joe.
Something we'll talk a lot more about, what they've created there at Clemson to the tune of a 4-0 lead on the road, end of 3. Coach Harden talked about the environment at Clemson being the closest thing to a championship environment that Virginia played in last year, with the ACC tournament obviously not happening. She mentioned that trip to Tigertown as having left a very real mark in the memories of the Virginia Cavaliers. Think about it. This is a team that a grand total of 38 games. They've won 28 of them along the way, and that's an inaugural season like no other when you take in those numbers, Casey.
Yeah, definitely. Clemson, Duke, we talked about this earlier, Duke breaking into the top 25. 2 rookie programs performing really well in the conference. Puts a little bit of a chip on your shoulder if you're one of the old-timers here.
No doubt about it. Johnson, Keller, and Hyatt scheduled for Clemson here. This is going to hit Johnson. She'll be awarded first base. You saw those numbers, 24,000 total and over 1,500 per game for Clemson in attendance right out of the gate. And they, alongside the Duke Blue Devils, a couple of the main reasons that the ACC is receiving more and more attention these days.
Yeah, it's fun to see this many ACC programs in the top 25. I certainly can't remember a time where that happened. Speaks to the growth of the conference, the growth of the sport. Really exciting stuff.
Florida State doing that solid work a couple of years ago, really raising the level of attention on the conference. And then with new facilities in places like here in Charlottesville and Clemson, it makes a difference. What a recovery on the middle infield by Goldberg. That skipped away, but she had an alertness to maintain control of the foot on the bag and somehow secure the softball for the force out.
Yeah, absolutely. Richie just getting a little ahead of herself, knowing what is possible, and doing a good job sticking with that play.
A hold in the rope of your middle infielder. Big pick-me-up play by Goldberg here. Presence of mind to keep that right foot planted. And the lead Clemson runner erased, as Keller will be pinch ran for. Tigers gonna opt to go for some speed here on first base with what would be the potential 5th run.
Yeah, we talked about that 5th run earlier. See if Morgan Murphy can help herself out here.
Shannon taking over at first base as that sliding pad on that left hand. She gets ready to take off for the Tigers. Runner first and 1 down. You look at those numbers that the crew put on the screen just a little bit ago. 24,800 in attendance, 1,500 plus per home game in 16 home games. With that kind of help, you could see why Clemson went 14-2 at home as a part of the 2020 season.
Yeah, we talked to Coach Rimmer this week about building the culture of Clemson softball, and he said it's the culture of Clemson athletics, the Tiger way. And that's certainly evidence of that those attendance numbers.
Coach Rittman talking a lot about all the people who made it possible for this program to come to life. And he said, you know, you have to remember it was 2.5+ years work of ordering equipment, building a softball stadium, trying to find those individual athletes who have the type of pioneer spirit we were looking for to help build a program. Because he said, we believed at Clemson that you didn't have to have those early program jitters. You didn't have to have those wade into it approaches and hope it works out well one day. We wanted to make our mark right away. Safe to say they have. There's a play at second to turn. True, a double play for Virginia and a defensive inning of note for UVA. will keep it at 4-0 in the middle of the fourth inning. Best defensive inning of the contest for the Wahoos as it goes around the horn to hold things steady. Virginia flashing the leather defensively in the top half of this inning. Here's a look at the around the horn double play. Clemson Tigers victims of a triple play last weekend on the road at Georgia Tech. Coach Richmond saying, that's only the second time in my career that I was part of a triple play. He said, my first ever year coaching, I had a hit and run on that resulted in a triple play on a hard hit ball, but they had a hard hit ball to the shortstop last weekend at Georgia Tech. Shortstop able to catch it just above the shoe tops, tag the runner from second base, and throw on to first to complete the triple play. But I guess for the Tigers, Casey, all is well that ends well, because they ended up sweeping the series. They had the three that mattered, even though Georgia Tech got three on the one swing. And here's an early out in the bottom half of inning number 4. Gilbert retired. Gilbert, Friedman, Murphy to bat for Virginia here in the bottom half of the fourth inning. Now, I got to ask you, you got a long history in this sport as you get one more look at the stat by Cagle here. You've got a long history in this sport, Casey. You ever been involved in a triple play along the way?
I don't think so, Jason, and I think I would remember it if that were the case.
Casey Steffen, of course, who played club softball for Virginia Tech. The fire in the belly to compete in this game led her to the heart of the Commonwealth, where she became a captain for Virginia in 2009. As Friedman bats here, can't help but think back about your impact on this program with your swings of the bat along the way. What are your main memories from your time as a student athlete at UVA?
I loved my experience as a Virginia student athlete. Just the travel, the competition. I don't know that I had all that much of an impact on the field, but certainly it left an impact on me as I've carried my experience with me throughout my career.
Well, Friedman, one of those players having that impact. I mentioned her road trip. She hit .391 with a home run and 3 triples on the road. Came into this Clemson series slugging .622 with swings just like this. On cue, Donna Friedman sends it to the wall, and she'll stand up at second with Virginia's first extra base hit. A double for Friedman in the fourth.
Really well hit ball.
Take us through this swing as we get another look at the biggest connection off Cagle tonight.
Yeah, Cagle left that one on the plate, and Friedman took complete advantage of it, lining it hard right into that left center gap.
Friedman had a home run against James Madison in the home opener last weekend. And again, the average coming into tonight, .378 and .622, the slugging percentage across 11 contests. That's climbing thanks to this double by Friedman, and she has set the table for who else but Murphy to help her on cause. Leadership on the screen for Virginia. And Murphy, who brings her own .312 average to the dish, is ahead in the count. That's something we have not said a lot. Now it draws even here at 1-1. But this is the first time Virginia has forced Cagle to really scuffle a little bit, Casey.
Yeah, taking the momentum from that double play on defense, carrying it into offense. That's what you like to see.
Now a second trip through the heart of the Virginia order. And Murphy, who lined out to the right fielder her first time up, bounces this foul. A ball and 2 strikes. Friedman has given Virginia an opportunity to scratch something across against Clemson. And these two, you'll remember, having connected before, that walk-off hit against GW, plated none other than Friedman, who's out at second. She won't have quite as far to run this time. She was at first base when Murphy sent it to the wall against GW to close that game down in the 9th inning last weekend.
Yeah, Murphy doing a good job hanging in here in this at-bat. See if she can get something in play.
Cagle looking now to buckle down. Cagle at the doorstep of 50 pitches now as she works through the bottom of the fourth with just 1 down. A little low. Mentioned Virginia able to piece some runs together when you saw that line against her a season ago. and came up just short by a single run in the Friday night game. First makings of a rally for UVA to try and tighten the score through the middle frames in the home edition. Through the middle. And the throw in will keep Friedman at third, but Virginia with runners on the corners as the threat continues in the fourth. Solid single by Murphy. Well, they have lived up to the hype tonight, these two pitchers. We said they can both swing it a little bit. Here's the evidence that Murphy can do just that.
Definitely. Again, really
Perfectly
well
placed. Perfectly placed, Casey, by a diving Bigham there.
Yeah, she did a good job of staying through that pitch.
Well, as a hitter, situationally, break it down for us now, Casey.
So we talked about this earlier. This is a really selective hitter. She has a really good eye. I'll be curious to see.
Well, jumps on the first pitch. She's selective, but she found one she liked right away and drives home Virginia's first run of the game. Avila, twice aboard. She's 2 for 2 and has placed the Wahoos on the board. It's now a 4-1 game. And there's the smooth stroke as she just shoots it the other way to plate Donna Friedman. And Virginia with a lot more brewing here in the bottom half of inning number 4. And here's Arizona Richie. Mentioned it that in the opener of this facility in 2020, had the big swing that secured Virginia's first hit. She would come on around and snatch Virginia's first run as well. And Richie, off to a 6 for 31 start this season. Has had a couple of timely hits, but really looking for that consistency.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. Cagle throws a lot of strikes, which is good for hitters.
He has driven home 8 on the year. This is going to go all the way to the padding, and it took a carom to the liking of the Clemson catcher, Hyatt. What a fortunate carom as she's able to throw down to third. And Morgan Murphy out there. So that's a tough break for Virginia and a huge out for the Tigers.
And that ball just came right back to the catcher, making it a pretty easy play at third base, honestly.
Yeah, the story there, just how quickly, and you never know what kind of carom you're going to get, but just how quickly it worked its way back into the grasp of Hyatt to secure the out. But Virginia does have a runner to second base and one more in scoring position to try and make further use of this frame. We'll have the best of the ACC Fencing Championship on Sunday from 6 to 8 Eastern, followed by a 2-hour recap of indoor track and field as the championships are underway. That coming from Clemson itself. Plus Monday, it's our 2-hour best of men's swim and dive championship. That's from 7 to 9 Eastern, all 3 on the ACC network, and can also be located on the ESPN app. Richie's at bat continues. The count is 1-1. And she works with Avila now in scoring position, who did move up. But you want to tuck that moment away in the back of your mind, Casey. A chance for Virginia to put together a crooked number in a big inning here may be snuffed out. We'll see. By a wild pitch, turned perfect delivery to Hyatt for the throw down to third. And that's just off the plate outside. We've seen Virginia get to Cagle a little bit, though, here in the 4th inning. You can tell by the approach she's taking against these hitters now as she's up over 55 pitches.
Yeah, they're hitting the ball, and they're hitting the ball well.
Hard contact, something we did not see through the first 3 frames. This is going to get away. The carom not as fortunate this time for the Tigers, and Avila, as a result, will move over. Virginia going to have a couple aboard now as Richie draws the walk, and they'll be on the corners with 2 down. It's a spot for Virginia where it's been a tale of 2 seasons. On the road, Virginia had such difficulty with 2 outs, even late in the ball game, to get that elusive big knock to drive home runs. at least during the Cavalier Classic last weekend, they were able to find it. Now here's their first chance in ACC play to really do so. And hard hit, the foul. What's the approach for McBride here, Casey, with a couple of runners in front of you and now 2 down?
Again, the directive from coach is be aggressive. I think she looks to put the ball hard on the ground, get it in play, push it past the infield, score a run.
3 runs scored as one of the main pinch runners for Virginia. But just 2 for 4 on the year. They've got the runner hung up between first and second. Virginia trying to make something happen, maybe steal a run away. But Clemson handles it beautifully as Gilstrap turns her attention toward the plate. Virginia is able to move Ritchie down, though, 2 in scoring position. Virginia had a run scored against them in the Cavaliers Classic that stood up as the game's only run for the longest time against GW, ahead of the 6th inning explosion for UVA last weekend. And this is going to be fouled back.
Yeah, Cagle way ahead in the count here.
Cagle still steady at 0-2. But a base hit for Virginia right now. You could be looking at a 1-run game for all the early offense Clemson was able to secure. Prime spot for McBride, who struck out her first time. And the same result is secured by Cagle this go-round. Virginia is on the board. They get 1 in the 4th. Got away last half inning, really changed the complexion of the frame, Casey.
Yeah, definitely. That ball takes a different bounce, and I think that inning ends differently. Took the wind out of Virginia's sails a little bit there.
It was just a second out of the frame, but Virginia, even after that, was able to get runners into scoring position at second and third. But you just sensed the difference once that second out was recorded with the way the ball hopped right off the backstop and to the Clemson catcher. Tigers going to have 9-1-2, and it starts at the bottom of the order with a solid single into right center from Bigham. And a leadoff runner aboard for Clemson.
Murphy left that ball just hanging over the plate just a little and got taken advantage of for sure.
Morgan Murphy having thrown up over 60 pitches in the ball game. He has struck out 3. One thing you have to like about Murphy's performance so far, did hit a batter, but has walked no one to this point through 4+ innings. Unable to get anything from Clark here to try and chase. Clemson with a pair of runs in the first, a pair of runs in the 3rd. Virginia just having scratched something across in the bottom of the 4th. And that's low and in. So this is the 3rd trip through now, which is always tedious sledding, Casey, as he works your way through this Clemson order once again.
Yeah,
and there's a strike call.
You saw Morgan Murphy attacking Clark inside early on in her first 2 at-bats. She seems to be mixing it up a little bit for this 3rd round through.
Clark at the plate, Gilstrap on deck, Cagle in the hole. Clemson already a runner aboard on the single to right center field.
Oops, that one way foul.
Yeah, battling back just a bit. Well, shadows a factor earlier in the game. They are now no longer an issue as daylight gives way to darkness here in Central Virginia. Stadium lights will have to do their work here in just a bit at beautiful Palmer Park. You made the point that both Lisa and Fran Palmer, they're here.
They are
right behind
here.
home plate, no less.
One of the things that many athletic departments are doing around the country is allowing fans to purchase cutouts so that they can be in the stands when they physically can't be present. So Lisa and Fran always here with us in spirit, but today are here as cutouts behind home plate.
And what a pleasure to have a facility named after one of the female student athletes here at UVA who made such a mark. There they are.
There we are.
Coach Harden calling her the Ralph Sampson of the softball program for folks who maybe haven't followed this program as strong over the years as they're beginning to now that they're right here in the heart of the athletic precinct. She really is the hero of the history of this program. There's a force out at second base, and so the first out of the inning recorded, and Clemson unable to get one in scoring position. But you obviously have a personal relationship with the Palmer family. You're directly connected to the history of this program. How do you explain their impact, not just on softball, but on Virginia athletics?
Yeah, it's almost hard to describe, honestly. You said it, Lisa had an unbelievable career here as a student athlete. She was a phenomenal pitcher. Continued to stay engaged with the program, has served on a couple of boards at UVA, and has continued to mentor and support this program, not just financially, but with guidance and support of these student athletes as they're coming out of school.
Now you see some work beginning out in the bullpen as Virginia getting a couple of arms ready behind Morgan Murphy as Clemson threatens a little further here in the top half of the fifth inning. The first player in Virginia program history to have her number retired, Lisa Palmer, wearing jersey number 22 in her time on grounds. She lettered in 86, 87, 88, 89. And alongside a young lady you'll hear a little bit from as the weekend goes along, our colleague Melanie Mitchell. She holds the single season record for pitching wins in a campaign at 27. She still holds the shutout record at 14 and ranks second in wins at 74. Just a tremendous career for Lisa Palmer. And boy, this would not be a reality, the type of softball we're watching in a place like this tonight, without her impact.
Definitely.
Clemson up 4-1 looking for more, and you saw it, the Virginia visit, as a couple of arms getting ready if called upon should Murphy run into more trouble here. Able to get the called strike. All in all, when you look over her night so far, she's held the Tigers to just one more hit than what Virginia has secured. 5 hits for Clemson. But unfortunately for Virginia and the young pitcher in the circle, 4 of those have turned into runs.
Yeah.
Here's a liner into left, and Clemson will add another base runner. And here comes the dangerous Clemson circle occupant, Cagle, who did this her last time up. There's that long drive out of the yard to center a little earlier tonight, Casey.
Yeah, Morgan Murphy really going to have to be careful here, keep some stuff off the plate.
Cagle with a couple she could plate at this point in the game. Really open it up for the Tigers, get them over, as we said, that 5-run threshold, which is kind of been the mark at which nobody has been able to do anything with Clemson. In the 1.5 years in the history of this Tigers program. Here they are again, battling it out. Cagle and Murphy. They have done all night long. Here's their work in the circle. Virginia with 3 left on base in the game, but Clemson has made use of just about everything they've secured off Murphy. Just 1 Tiger left on base, and again, only a couple of more hits for Clemson than what Virginia has secured. She's pitched well, but the Tigers, when they have been able to get something going off of her, had made it count. And there's a strike. Mentioned it last inning, last time she was out there, a little bit earlier. The one thing you have to love about Murphy, she's making Clemson earn it. They have, to the tune of 4 runs on the board. But she's working in the zone, as you can see right here, with another strike called.
Yeah, doing a good job climbing her way back.
Just the 1 down and a couple of Tigers ready to take off as you hear the chatter growing out of both dugouts. Out towards second. Richie has to be quick with it, not in time. Able to beat it by a step is Cagle. One element of her game we haven't talked a lot about, pretty good speed getting down the line also.
Yeah, again, just an unbelievable athlete. She was ready to swing at that pitch, no doubt about it.
You'll see the long strides down toward first base. And this is a play that Richie made look fairly routine. Might have had a little bit of trouble getting it out of her glove, but Cagle, quick to first base, has loaded them up for the Tigers. And a first pitch fouled back by Leah Logaleo. Hitting the nod and the cleanup spot in the Tigers' order. And this has been only a do-it-bad season in terms of what you've seen from Logaleo. Talk about inserting a player in a big spot. She comes up with the bases full of Tigers in the top half of the fifth inning in the cleanup hole.
You gotta love this opportunity if you're Logaleo.
Cagle at first, Gilstrap at second, Clark over at third. His third trip through the lineup proving troublesome for Virginia. And it's going to get even more troublesome. That's a grand slam for the Tigers, and Clemson is going to double its advantage here in the top half of the fifth inning. Logaleo taking Morgan Murphy deep, and celebration ensues in that first base dugout. Now here's the loudest swing of the night, one of the loudest swings in the young history of the Clemson program.
She did a good
An
job.
Oppo grand slam for Logaleo.
Just staying on that outside pitch, pitching it right out.
If you're wondering about it, Cagle had one of those last year, and it was against this very Virginia squad. So it's the first one on the road in ACC play in Clemson history. Let's tab it that way. And it's mindful of the one Cagle hit against Virginia at home in Tigertown last season. You saw the graphic pop up there. When Clemson scores this many, nobody having beaten the Tigers in a year and a half of softball action. Virginia's going to make a change inside the circle. Clemson changing the complexion of the game with a grand slam by Logaleo. Virginia turns to the ace of its staff from a season ago, Allie Rail. One of the big questions surrounding this Who's program in 2021, just when would she be able to return? That question answered right here and right now. As a welcome sight for Virginia is Rail in the circle, even if she enters after Clemson has opened up a major lead. What a year she had a year ago, Casey, for the Wahoos.
Yeah, she was their ace pitcher last year, and I know Coach Joe was really disappointed to not have her as an option going into 2021. Nice to see her back.
Was second in the ACC in strikeouts per 7 and the top 50 in the country in that category. Think about the opponent's batting average against Rail last year. Opponents hit 188 in that shortened 2020 season, all making up a ERA of 2.91. That was after a freshman campaign in which she picked up 10 wins in 2019. So Allie Rail to the circle for Virginia. Coach Hart and her staff opting to find out in-game action against one of the toughest lineups in the ACC here, with Virginia down big now 8-1. Just how crisp Rail will be in her return. And she faces the DP, Mattimore. First pitch from Rail, just a little low and in.
Similar scouting report to Morgan Murphy, curveball, screwball, low in the zone, and will use the rise when she gets ahead.
Think about how she introduced herself to Virginia fans back in 19 in an ACC series. Mattimore in the air, fairly deep left, backing up to the edge of the warning track is McBride, and the out is recorded. Going back to that NC State series in 2019, she was the first Virginia pitcher to sweep a series since all the way back in 10, when Rail earned all 3 wins against the NC State Wolfpack. That was the moment I think a lot of fans realized this is a special, special player out of South Lakes in Herndon, Virginia. And last year, proving that that was just a vision of things to come in her first real impact moment there against NC State.
Coming in, going right at these Clemson hitters.
Well, nobody aboard after Rail comes into the game and enters with a fresh group here, so you can close the line on Morgan Murphy. And the line certainly changing in a major way on one swing of Logaleo's at bat. Talked about how Clemson had cashed in just about every time they had a hit. It had translated into a run, and that one swing turned into 4. It makes the line a little tougher for Murphy than the way she really pitched, especially through the first 4 innings, Casey.
Yeah, like you said, not a bad performance out of a young pitcher, a great experience.
Timely swings of the bat from Logaleo, from the young lady in line to win this one in the circle for Clemson, Cagle as well. And the Tigers in command now in this Friday night affair. The 2 down in the 5th. It's just a little bit low. What are you looking for from Rail if you're in that Virginia dugout right now, seeing her for the first time in a long, long while?
Yeah, consistency, making sure she's hitting her spots, staying off the plate. We see what happens when you leave these hanging over the plate for this Clemson offense.
Johnson takes low. Posing presence in the batter's box for the Clemson Tigers with 2 down and the count now full from Rail, who's tried to restore some sense of order here in the 5th inning after Clemson really opened the contest up. And Johnson fouls it off once more. Put yourself in Rail's shoes just a moment. Long, long layoff, high expectations, and the first action you see this season coming against one of the powerful offenses in the ACC.
Yeah, as a veteran member on this staff, you've got to love this position, though. Come in, help your teammates out, put you in a position to get back on the in the batter's box.
Ends up losing Johnson, who will trot down to first base. And that'll save an AB for Keller in the frame. Here's how Rail fared against the Clemson Tigers a season ago. Rare issues in terms of control as she worked to the Clemson lineup. These Tigers with a 4 spot in the 5th after scoring 2 in the 1st, 2 in the 3rd. Every other inning has been of note for Clemson, none bigger than the one they continue right now. Strike called from Rail.
That's a great.
Well, you check the velocity. You were going to say great pitch there.
Yeah. Great pitch, inside corner, putting Keller back on her heels a little bit.
And ahead 0-1, she will come just a little bit inside.
Inside.
In a ball game that has gone to 8-1, the moment that it certainly has a lot more riding on it than just the outs that are being recorded by Rail. As Virginia is assessing its pitching situation in real time right now. Last year's ace out there getting an initial look. There's action in the Virginia pen as well.
We talked about this earlier. Circumstances being what they are this season, it's hard to settle into a pitching rotation. You just don't know what you're going to be handed day after day.
Both Wooten and Harris warning in case they're called upon. They're warming in the pen. Runner down to second base. Clemson able to get Johnson in scoring position now with 2 down. See if Keller can do anything with her. just a moment to think through the options that are available to Rail ahead of the 2-2 pitch. And fouled off once more.
Really working that inside corner on this batter.
Rail living in there right now. Looking for that one more pitch to try to get Virginia back in the dugout. Offense going to have to go to work for the Wahoos. They have the 8, 9, and 1 spots due up in the bottom of this 5th frame. And tossed right back to the corner infielder as Johnson will retreat to second. First road grand slam on the road here in Charlottesville for the Clemson Tigers in the program's history, coming in this 5th frame. And this one's hit deep. Backing up and watching this hit the base of the wall is the Virginia center fielder. Motoring around Johnson. She will score and trading places with her Keller. Clemson having made it 9-1 here in the top of the 5th inning. Keller was 0 for 4, had popped out and reached on a fielder's choice. But she just missed getting every bit of this.
Rail did a good job keeping Keller off balance, throwing inside, and tried to keep that one off the plate, the outside, get her to chase it, and it just hung a little bit too far over the plate.
And the Tigers are really feeling it here in inning number 5. 5 in the frame, and a chance to do further damage coming for Hyatt. He'll try and cash Keller in. Well, you knew it was just a matter of time when you look at the numbers for Clemson before they flex their offensive muscles. It only took the 5th inning of the first game of the series for Clemson to return to form offensively. Remember, this is a team coming off a sweep of Georgia Tech on the road. They're trying to tonight make it 4-0 all time on the road in the ACC. And the biggest of the innings as they put up a 5 spot in the 5th. That'll be the final out of the frame, but the impact swing coming from the Nashville, Tennessee native. Another of those super freshmen for the Clemson Tigers, Aliga Logaleo, with the grand slam to open it up in the 5th. Well, the freshman phenom, Valerie Cagle, in addition to her work inside the circle, 2-run bomb of her own. And you add on top of that the grand slam for Clemson in the top of this frame. She is now staked to a major lead heading into the bottom of the 5th frame.
Yeah, certainly living up to her reputation. Just an unbelievable performance out of Cagle, both at the plate and in the circle.
Easy to see while all the preseason honors are lined up behind the name of the Yorktown native. And she works to Fox, Winscott, and Goldberg as Virginia needing the bats to come to life.
Yeah, if you're Virginia, you got to be thinking, take this one at bat at a time. Get runners on, move them over, keep it simple. You're not going to fix this with one swing of the bat.
Fox struck out looking in the 3rd inning. Now one of 4 punch outs for Cagle in the game. This is going to come inside on Fox. It hits the Virginia 3rd baseman, and that's maybe a little more painful than you wanted it to be, but the start Virginia needed is they'll have a base runner.
Yeah, runner on base, albeit a little painful.
Now Winscott to hit. Now the thing about a pitcher like Cagle in so many ways, tough enough to get to when the stakes are high, but you stake them to a major lead like the one she's experiencing right now. It provides the freedom to simply go to work. "63 pitches. Also catching your attention for Cagle through 5 frames.
Yeah, we said it earlier. Coach Joe's message to this team, stay consistent, don't get too high, don't get too low. That's a tall order right now. See if they can string something together, though.
Haley Winscott, one of the speedsters in this Virginia lineup. He can put something in play somewhere. As you said it, it's just one base runner, one player at a time at this point. Mississippi natives on the Virginia roster. Cagle taking a deep breath for her 1-1. Going to sneak on through, so Virginia will have a couple of base runners, something brewing for the Hoos in response here in the 5th. Well, reminder, tomorrow you don't want to miss it. We'll have the ACC Women's Basketball Tournament semifinals coming up on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. First game is at noon Eastern. The championship game scheduled for Sunday on ESPN as well. Tournament taking place across the state line in Greensboro, North Carolina. You catch it all on the ACC Network and the ESPN app.
Jason, not the most conventional way to get runners on base, but we'll take it. Hit by pitch. Error in the field.
Now Goldberg, the top of the order, who's been a good table setter for Virginia this year. In the opposite spot as she'll try and drive a couple in. Does have 5 RBIs on the season, though she's 0 for 2 tonight with a couple of groundouts, both of them to the left side of the infield. Goes the other way with this, but it's right at the second baseman, Bigham, who elevates to make the play and then throws in behind the runner to secure a couple of outs on the double play. Nicely played by Bigham at second base.
Couple of tough breaks for the Cavaliers this game. We talked about that bounce off the back on the wild pitch, and then a line drive right at the second baseman, catching your runner on first off the back.
A hard hit ball. Paid no dividends for Virginia there. Now another of those deflating moments, as you said. Although Virginia will react, will respond. Gilbert serves one out into shallow left field, and they are on the corners with 2 down. So Virginia tries to battle back as the lineup rolls on around to the dangerous Friedman now.
Yeah, this is exactly who you want in the box in this situation.
She had the first home run for Virginia this season on the road against 14th ranked Georgia. First pitch offering in the top of the very first offensive inning for Virginia. And mentioned the second home run coming in the first home game of the year, that one against JMU. It was in Virginia's last licks to set the score in stone at 5-1 against JMU in the opener of the Cavalier Classic. So you know the pop that is there in Friedman's bat. She has a double and a run scored in this game. Virginia's only run to this point. That came back in the 4th inning. Talk about it resting on your shoulders. The extension of this softball game on the shoulders of Donna Friedman right now. Needs to find a way to get Fox home from third to keep it going.
Want to be aggressive here, but not too anxious.
Cagle sitting on just over 70 pitches as she works through the at-bat of Friedman. Trying to shorten her workload right here and right now. And when you talk about trying to use Cagle as often as possible across the course of this weekend, it would be huge for the Clemson Tigers to limit this by a couple of frames in terms of the taxing of her arm in game 1 of a 4-game series.
Yeah, we know that we'll see Cagle again this weekend.
Friedman to first, fielded over there by Keller, and the Clemson Tigers with a grand slam in the top half of inning number 5. Able to put together a 9-1 victory in just their second road series all time in the ACC. Cagle in the middle of it, not only with the pitches she threw and the solid work she did in the circle, but she had a 2-run home run. And Logaleo, the biggest swing of the night, the grand slam that was the mark of the 5th. Just an all-around dominant performance, both offensively as well as in the circle by the Clemson Tigers, Casey.
Yeah, absolutely. Not the start that Virginia wanted for this series, but 3 more opportunities for their young pitching staff to get some experience. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
So the Clemson Tigers a winner 9-1. They opened the first 4-game series at home for Virginia in ACC play this year with a commanding win for the crew out of Tiger Town. Thanks for joining us on the ACC Network. These two back in action twice tomorrow and once on Sunday. We'll have it all for you here on the ACC Network. That does it for our crew. Good night from Charlottesville. A reminder, you can watch this game and all games on the ESPN family of networks and the ESPN app. Clemson Tigers take game 1 of 4, 9-1.